Hello everyone, and welcome back to Love and Revenge Tales. Broken Heart Sparkles. Before we dive into today's powerful story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring you more heart-touching, emotional stories. Now, let's begin. Adrian Knight was the kind of man who seemed untouchable. CEO of Knight Enterprises, his empire stretched across continents. His face was always in newspapers, his name whispered with both admiration and fear. He was young, brilliant, ruthless, and completely in control. At least, that's what the world believed. But behind his cold exterior, Adrian's heart had never truly healed. Years ago, before the fame and power, there had been Isabella, his first love. She was wild, passionate, and beautiful in a way that made people stop and stare. To Adrian, she was everything. But Isabella was also ambitious. She wanted a life of freedom, art, and travel. And one rainy night, she left, choosing her dreams over him. The Adrian that emerged afterward was colder, harder, and determined never to feel such pain again. When Elena entered his life, she was quiet, graceful, and unassuming. She worked as a project assistant in his company, blending into the background with her gentle smile. Adrian never intended to notice her, but he did. Not because of who she was, but because in certain angles, in certain moments, she reminded him of Isabella. And so, one decision led to another. Marriage wasn't built on love. It was built on convenience, and perhaps, a cruel attempt by Adrian to fill the void Isabella had left. The wedding was grand, just as one would expect from a man of Adrian's wealth. But beneath the glittering chandeliers and champagne toasts, something vital was missing: love. Elena stood in her ivory gown, trembling as she smiled for photographs. She wanted to believe that this was her happily ever after. She wanted to believe Adrian chose her because he loved her. But deep down, she knew. His eyes didn't shine when they looked at her. His touch was polite, almost distant. And when he kissed her before the crowd, it felt more like a performance than passion. Elena told herself it didn't matter. Maybe love could grow. Maybe she could prove her worth to him. So she gave her everything. For 3 years, Elena tried. She woke up early to prepare his coffee just the way he liked it, black, no sugar. She learned how to manage his schedules, stood beside him at corporate events, smiled when the cameras flashed, and made sure the mansion they lived in felt like home. But Adrian remained a man locked in his past. He rarely spoke of Isabella, but the ghost of her was everywhere. The songs he listened to, the art he collected, the way he stared out of the window sometimes as if waiting for someone who would never come. One evening, Elena came into his office with dinner. He barely looked up from his laptop. "Leave it on the desk," he murmured. She placed the tray down, lingering by his side. "Adrian, do you ever think of us? Of what we have?" His fingers froze over the keyboard. Slowly, he looked up, his dark eyes unreadable. "You're a good wife, Elena. Don't trouble yourself with unnecessary thoughts." Her heart sank. A good wife. Nothing more. She forced a smile and nodded, but inside, cracks were forming. On their 3rd anniversary, Elena prepared something special. She cooked his favorite meal, lit candles, and even wore a dress she thought he'd like, an elegant sapphire gown that hugged her frame. When Adrian walked in that night, he paused. For a moment, his gaze softened. Elena's heart fluttered. Maybe tonight would be different. But then he whispered, almost to himself, "Isabella had a dress just like that." The words cut deeper than a knife. Elena's smile faltered, but she forced herself to continue through the evening. She laughed at his rare comments, clinked her glass against his, and carried on as though her world hadn't just collapsed. But that night, as he slept peacefully beside her, Elena sat in the dark with tears streaming down her face. She realized something with brutal clarity: she would never be enough for him. Not because she lacked anything, but because he never truly saw her. The next morning, she placed a folder on his desk. Inside, divorce papers. Adrian picked up the folder with confusion. "What is this?" Her voice trembled but her eyes were steady. "It's freedom, Adrian. For both of us." Elena, his tone was sharp, commanding. "What nonsense is this?" "It's not nonsense. I can't do it anymore. I can't be someone else's shadow." Adrian stood, his jaw clenched. "You think you can just walk away? After everything?" "Yes," she whispered. "Because there was never really an US, Adrian. There was you, and there was your ghost of Isabella. But me? I was never really here in your heart." And for the first time in years, Adrian felt panic. The days after Elena left were unbearable. At first, Adrian told himself it was pride. That she would come back, apologize, beg him to reconsider. But as the mansion grew colder and emptier, something inside him shifted. He missed her. He missed the way she made his coffee, the way she smiled shyly when he caught her staring, the way her laughter filled the silence. And slowly, he realized, it hadn't been Isabella's ghost keeping him warm all these years. It had been Elena. The woman he had dismissed as a substitute had been the one holding his life together. And he had let her go. Adrian tried to find her. He searched through lawyers, friends, even traveled across cities. When he finally saw her again, she was living quietly, working in a small art gallery. "Elena," he said, his voice breaking. She turned, her face pale but strong. "Adrian." He stepped closer. "I was blind. I thought I was holding on to love, but it was you all along. You're the only one who stayed. The only one who ever truly loved me." Her eyes filled with tears, but she shook her head. "Sometimes, love comes too late, Adrian." Adrian begged. He promised change. He offered her the world. But Elena had learned the hardest lesson of all: sometimes, loving yourself meant walking away from the person who couldn't love you back. "I don't hate you," she whispered as she signed the final papers. "But I can't live my life hoping you'll see me. I need to be seen now, Adrian. Not after years of being invisible." And with that, she left. Adrian stood alone, the powerful CEO reduced to a man haunted by regret. For the rest of his life, he carried one truth: he had mistaken his greatest treasure for a shadow. And when the shadow left, it took his heart with it.